If summer heat and activity left your lawn with bare patches and thin spots, then get Scott's Turf Builder Grass Seed. Fall's cool air and warm soil make it the best time to grow grass. Use Turf Builder Grass Seed to grow thicker, greener grass, guaranteed. It contains Scott's exclusive Water Smart Plus coating that absorbs 2 times more water than uncoated seeds. Feeds to jumpstart growth and protect seedlings against disease. And Scott's is the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Fall's the best time to grow seed and repair your yard. Pick up a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Grass Seed today. This is a Scott's Yard.
It's time for some straight talk. Some people are big-time data users, some not so much.
Well, Straight Talk Wireless has unlimited plans of all sizes, like the newest, with the first 2 gigs of data at high speed, then 2G for just $35 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data, all on America's largest and most dependable networks. Big or small, everyone saves with Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts, only at Walmart.
A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
We're back in better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And no time to waste and no rest for the weary. It is all going on right now. Brady wins. Lamar Jackson loses. Terry Francona is a genius. And we've got 4 playoff games on the schedule today. Booger McFarland is here. Big man, we've got 4 hours to try and get all this done. I'm not sure we can jam it all in.
I think we can, especially coming off a football game last night that was less than entertaining. And some baseball decisions that it made the Boogman go,
Really?
Yes.
All right, I'm curious to hear this because for those of you who don't know Booger knows as much about baseball as he does about football. So we have all of that in the hopper today, and I'm feeling fired up. Let's see how we do. We're going to keep a close eye on Greeny today because I had an event last night at the kids' school, and which I was very happy to be a part of. But it got me out of my rhythm, got me out of my usual routine. Yeah. So I have, especially during this time of year, baseball season, October, which is the busiest sports month of the calendar, I've got a very specific routine that I usually follow, which when I'm going to watch these games, when I'm going to get my sleep. And when that gets thrown out of whack, you know me, I'm a creature of habit, so I'm a little off. So I got a lot of caffeine working today. I'm feeling a little pumped up here. Let's see how we do.
You know what I hear from you right now?
Yeah.
We call that false chatter.
What does that mean?
It means that you're trying to fake like you're ready to go.
Right.
You're trying to come up with all this enthusiasm.
Correct.
But when I look into your eyes, I don't see it.
Oh, yeah. By 7:15, I'm asleep on the desk. I mean, there's no two ways about it. We'll see how this thing goes. All right, let's give you an indication of just how busy we are because this is going to be the longest off the top we've ever had. Let's start with Trevor Bauer, and we'll get more deeply into this. Bauer, who was on some level the GOAT of last year's postseason for Cleveland with the incident where he cut his finger on the drone and he wound up really not being able to help, now was the somewhat controversial Game 1 starter for the Indians. And Terry Francona, he makes him look like a genius as Bauer takes a no-hitter deep into this game last night and the Indians get the win. What'd you make of that, Booger?
Well, here's all you need to know. The Yankees line read like this. Aaron Judge had more strikeouts than the Yankees had hits. So that should tell you something right there. And
yep.
Trevor Bauer took advantage of a young, impatient Yankees lineup. I thought it was a masterful move by Tito, especially once you understood why he started Bauer instead of Corey Kluber.
You will hear from him on that, meaning Francona himself, in just a moment. In the earlier American League game, Jose Altuve went back-to-back and belly-to-belly, 3 home runs. He is the 9th player to hit 3 homers in a postseason game as the Astros take apart the Red Sox in Game 1.
All I thought about watching this game was, man, Greeny's taller than him. That's all I kept thinking about.
I'm glad I'm on your mind.
But if you look at him, though, he's guy.
He's small.
No, and he's probably going to win the AL MVP because he's had that kind of season. You put him in that lineup that they have. Himbo and I both think it's the best hitting lineup that baseball's seen in a long time. The Astros are in a really, really good situation.
Yes, they're young and they're good and they're on their way. And they had Justin Verlander yesterday who got it done. Jose Altuve, by the way, I mentioned he's the 9th player ever to hit 3 homers in a postseason game. Babe Ruth did it twice, so this was the 10th ever occurrence. And the staff in the back room, perhaps taking advantage of my sort of lessened mental state today, is trying to get me to call him Jose Althrive today. Because he didn't hit 2 home runs. He hit 3 home runs.
I like it.
No, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
No, but what it is that they are alert and you're not. That's what it is. Yeah. They are alert back there, and you're not.
And they are somewhat idiots back there. And even in my weekend state,
Off the top.
I am not. All right, Clayton Kershaw takes the mound today. I mentioned we got 4 games today, and that includes the start of the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. No one will be wearing their Apple Watch on airplane mode, by the way. I can't wait to get into this story. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. But the real thing you'll be keeping an eye on is Clayton Kershaw, who has regular season numbers, Booger, that would suggest you could, if you wanted to argue that he's the greatest pitcher of all time in the regular season, you could do it. I'm not saying I would, but you could defend the argument. But in the playoffs, he's obviously been much less than that. Do you think that's mental? What do you think of that?
It's all mental. When you've been a great player in any sport and you get in certain situations, what changes? Your game is still the same. The only thing that changes is your mindset. And I think the mindset, prime example, I played with Peyton Manning a long time.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, arguably the best regular season quarterback football has ever seen.
Yes.
What happens when you get to the postseason? It's just the mindset, knowing that when you lose or if you lose, those losses are magnified even more. It's strictly a mindset with Kershaw.
Yeah, Peyton was I know him much better just individually than I know Clayton Kershaw, whom I don't really know at all. We've had him on the show a handful of times. I've met him once or twice. I don't know him at all.
No, you don't.
Well, why are you saying it that way?
Because you don't. Because you're trying to come up with a way to say, yeah, I met him, I know him. Maybe if we see each other out, he'll recognize me. But the bottom line, you don't know.
That's not the point that I'm making. This is not like my J-Lo, I met her argument. I'm not trying to convince you that I'm friends with Clayton Kershaw.
It seems like you are.
What I'm trying to say is I don't know if he is the same kind of person that Peyton is. Peyton, as we all know, and you played with him, so you'd know better than anyone, he's so meticulous, he's so detail-oriented that perhaps you can, if you try and make a postseason game even bigger than a regular season game, where you already make every regular season game like it's the most important thing that ever happened, you can actually get yourself to a place where all of that work starts to work against you. I don't know if that's what happens with Kershaw or not.
Baseball guys always tell me they treat every game the same. It's one of 162. They have to do that in the postseason, but you can't because you only get a limited number of games. And Kershaw, as great as he's been, everybody in the country will be watching the first couple of 3 innings. If he can get through the first 2 or 3 innings unscathed, Clayton Kershaw is going to have a night. But if they get a run or two in the early innings, watch out because as dominant as he's been, it's all a mindset in those first couple of innings.
Yeah, he's 4-7 in his career postseason with a 4.55 ERA. The other National League Series that starts today, of course, the Cubs trying to become the first team to repeat as World Series champs since the Yankees won 3 straight in the late 90s. They take on the Nationals. College football last night. Lamar Jackson, here's the thing. He's a spectacular player. I love watching him play. But I don't think he had much of a chance to win the Heisman again this year because I think there's just a natural tendency people would have not to want to give it to someone twice. He would have to have been far and away the best candidate at the end of the season. And now with their second loss, it seems clear he won't be, even though he had a spectacular night last night. But NC State knocks off Louisville in a big win.
And I think right now, based on them having a veteran team, I think NC State becomes the team in the ACC that just might give Clemson a run for their money. I don't think it's going to be.
They had them beat last year, Booger. Do you remember that game? They missed the field goal at the end. They should have beat Clemson last year.
College kicker struck again.
Yeah. But you know the game I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. This year, though, Greeny, I think when you look at how they're made up, their defensive line is a veteran. Bradley Chubb is tremendous. As long as Ryan Finley plays within himself, they'll have an opportunity to beat Clemson. I think Clemson will beat them, but right now I think they are really the only contender. Miami, not so much in the ACC.
Florida State? I know Florida State's not a contender to win the conference, but could they give Clemson a run for their money?
Florida State's offensive line couldn't block me, you, Himbo, and Stanton. Let's just keep it honest. They couldn't.
Well, they'd have to triple team you. They could put one guy on the rest of us. Everything will be just fine. And then finally, after allowing an average of 32 points a game through the first 4 games of the season, the New England defense came up big last night, got some help from the Buccaneers' dreadful kicking game. 3 missed field goals for Nick Folk, and the Patriots get the win in the Thursday night Week 5 opener.
I'm going to take you to task there because everybody's going to come out with the narrative today that the New England defense came up big.
Yeah.
I'm going to question that.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's make that off the top.
Off the top.
We will say that it is presented by Progressive Insurance. I'll tell you that last year over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call it, click today and find out if you could save. And then I will tell you we will get to all the football coming up in just a moment, including Booger's assessment of what we saw last night from both sides of the ball for New England and for Tampa. A really interesting game in a lot of different ways and an important game in both conferences. And then Herm Edwards will be here later in this hour to talk about it all as well. But I do want to start with the baseball because we have Herman coming. So let's get to the baseball here. And again, the Indians when you're a manager, and listen, you played sports all of your life, so you understand coaches are going to make decisions, and they're going to get second guessed sometimes. And sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they're not. I absolutely love coaches, or in this case managers, who have the courage of their conviction to go against the grain. I believe that so many people, so many coaches and managers, I understand it. I can't blame them. Because in the world in which we live, there is so much chatter. There is so much talk. I mean, Mike and Mike, we've been on 18 years. When we started, we were like the only ones doing this. Now everyone's doing it. Right. There's chatter everywhere you go. So it's easy for me to understand why coaches sometimes make the most easily defensible move. The move they will most easily be able to explain when it doesn't work. So if he pitches Corey Kluber in game 1, no one says a word. And if Kluber gets belted around and they lose a series as a result of it, even if his gut had told him to go a different direction, he can easily sit up there and say, well, what are you going to tell me? He's going to win the Cy Young. I pitch him in game 1, no problem. Right. I understand it. I love a guy like Tito Francona who is willing to go against that, who is willing to risk the slings and arrows that would have been sent in his direction if Bauer pitches and to actually have to watch 4 straight starters get annihilated in the wild card round and not rethink it and to stay with his guns. And in the end, he winds up coming up smelling like roses because now Bauer pitches a gem and they got Kluber in game 2 to try and take a commanding lead.
No doubt. And I think when you look at coaches or managers like Tito and like Belichick, like Nick Saban, they've earned the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And as I sit there and I watched it, and I'm like, why isn't Kluber going in game 1? And you start to think about it, and Himbo and I were talking about this before the show. Tito realizes that he may have the best team in the AL. He realizes that. So I'm not planning on losing in the ALDS. So how can I maximize between the ALDS and the ALCS to get the maximum amount of starts out of Kluber? If I throw him in game 1, realizing that the Yankees are probably going to win a game, then you know what? I'll have an opportunity to throw him again game 1 of the ALCS if they win 4 games. Now, if the series goes to 5 in the ALDS, he's got to come back in game 5.
Right.
But he's saying, you know what? We're better than the Yankees. The Yankees are a swing and miss team. They're young. They're impatient. It really doesn't matter who I throw out there. We're going to be able to handle this lineup pretty good. So it was a boss move by Tito, but it was a move, not Greeny, not for this series. It was a move for the ALCS because he realized that, guess what? Back last year in the World Series, when I threw Kluber on short rest twice. First time he was cool. Second time they lit him up. So how can I maximize the starts of my best pitcher? You don't often see a manager or coach say, you know what? I'm going to save my ace. I'm going to save the big joker because I know that my team is good enough that when I do put the big joker out there, we can get it done. So I thought it was an outside. I didn't understand it at first, but once you understand why he did it, he's basically saying we have the better team. So I'm not going to manage as if we don't. He managed in a position of strength, just like people like to negotiate. He managed in a position knowing his team is a better team.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I think that the beauty of this is he pitches game 2. He's pitching you game 5 on regular rest if you wind up there, and if not, then he's available for game 1. I want to give credit to Chris Russo because I heard him say this on MLB Network. The real risk he took is rain. Can we get a forecast today in Cleveland? Because I know originally when I heard Chris saying this, which was 2 days ago, and Chris was ripping Francona to shreds
of course,
for the decision. And what he was saying is the real risk of that was rain because if the game gets rained out today, and at that time there was forecast for rain in Cleveland. Again, Hembo's getting me a forecast right now for today. But if the game gets rained out today.
Yes, I mean, the weatherman's always wrong.
And it gets right. They're usually wrong anyway. But you know what I mean? If the game gets rained out today and push it tomorrow, then you lose. The off day gets switched. They don't give you another off day. They travel and play.
Correct.
So what winds up happening, and there's a lot of rain in the forecast. I'm looking at the Cleveland forecast here for it was 73 periods of rain. Oh, they'll get it for me in a second. Anyway, the point is, if the game gets rained out, now you run the risk of only having Kluber pitch once, even if the series goes 5.
Right.
And if you wind up losing, then you really do have egg on your face because if you lose a 5-game series and your ace only pitches once, that really did work out badly. Here it is. The game is at 5 o'clock today. At that point, 58% chance of rain. There's something between a 50 and 60% chance of rain pretty much the entire day in Cleveland today. So hopefully they'll play. We'll see what happens. And either way, now it worked out great because Bauer pitched great, and you've got the 1-0 lead either way.
Well, and I think the bigger thing to come out of this series is if you're the Yankees and you're Joe Girardi, how do you get some patience in your young lineup? How do you get Aaron Judge to be a little bit more selective? How do you get Sanchez to be a little bit more selective? It's the one thing that Tito and his staff banked on is a team that's built for the home run in Yankee Stadium. You get them out of Yankee Stadium, guess what? They're still built for the home run. So how do you show patience? How do you exude the one thing in the postseason that can help you win? Because in baseball, I don't care what you do from an offensive number standpoint. Like Houston is the greatest hitting team we've seen in the last 40 or 50 years. They won't win the championship unless they get great pitching from Verlander and Dallas Keuchel. Once the postseason starts, Greeny, in most sports, defense, good pitching beat good hitting. And I think we're seeing that again in baseball.
Yeah, and we live in a swing and miss era, especially with these young kids who are swinging from their heels pretty much every time. If you didn't see it last night, Judge struck out 4 times. So here is Terry Francona on how he goes about making his decisions.
You know what? I kind of live by you do what you think is right, and you answer the questions, and then in the morning I don't run to see how I'm being perceived. You have to have the confidence of what you're doing, and it's not always going to work. We can't win every game, but I was completely comfortable with our decision to do what we did for a number of reasons. Now, it's awful nice when Trevor goes out and pitches like he does, but I wouldn't have felt any different if they would have beat him.
I love it.
Yeah.
And we always use the blackjack analogy in this. But if you've got 16 and the dealer has a queen, you're supposed to take a hit.
Yeah.
You take a card.
I'm hitting.
And you hit that. And even if you get a 10, it doesn't mean you did the wrong thing. You lost a hand, but you did the right thing. And so in his mind, he did the right thing. You don't make these decisions when you're the manager ahead of time knowing the outcome. So you make the decision based upon either your gut or whatever other information you have, and I love it. I love to see a guy make a gutsy call like that.
Well, no doubt. And Greeny, as you look at Tito, he's in a position of power, position of strength. And there's a saying I always use in my life. When you're in a position of power like that, a CEO or manager, they don't pay you the big bucks for the everyday decision. Mm-hmm. They pay you the big bucks for the crucial decisions that happen not every day but every so often. Okay, and I think he's in a situation where now you're in the postseason. He's going to have to make some very, very tough decisions. One was before the game. There's going to come a time he's got to make a pitching change. So they put people and they paid them the big bucks to make those tough decisions. And more importantly, you make the decision and you don't worry about the outcome. How great a manager would we all be if we could know the outcome before we made the decision?
Yeah, of course.
Would we be great? The reason he's great is because he can make that decision. And as you heard him say, I don't worry about the perception of how I'm going to be perceived. All I do is make the decision. I go what's best for me and my team, and he move on. And I love what he does because he manages knowing that I have the better team. We're in a position of strength, and I'm going to manage that way. I'm not going to be scared. Oftentimes in the postseason, when everything is on the line, people get tight. People manage scared. People play scared. Tito's not doing that.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Jam-packed guest list today on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We got a coach of our own coming in here. Herm Edwards will talk about making those kinds of decisions and much, much more when he's here shortly. And we have John Smoltz coming up later talking baseball as well. 8:30 Eastern time with us here. Plenty of baseball as the morning goes, but as we mentioned, jam-packed night last night. Brady and company back in Tampa. Well, he was never went anywhere. He's had enormous days all season long, and he threw for 300 yards again yesterday. But it was New England's defense that holds Tampa to 14. Again, 3 missed field goals, making a huge dent in the outcome of that game. But I started by saying New England's defense played a lot better, and you stopped me dead in my tracks. What did you see?
Yeah, because, Greeny, the narrative coming out of the game was going to be that New England's defense is back. Belichick had a few days. He got them fixed.
Right.
Jameis has so many opportunities that he missed. It's unreal. I thought the New England defense tried to simplify the game plan, not as much man-to-man, not as much opportunity to get confused. We're going to play a lot of zone, and we're going to see can this young quarterback be accurate and throw the football in the tight quarters. And Jameis Winston was not accurate. Yes, he had a good fourth quarter. Yes, he put up some numbers. But by and large last night, Jameis Winston was off, and he was off by a mile in some situations. I'll give New England credit for recognizing a quick fix to their issue. But for their high-priced corner, Gillislee, I mean, Jameis Winston early on was going at it. I mean, and they were throwing at him. Deshaun Jackson had a couple touchdowns that Winston just missed. So I'm not going to say that this New England defense is fixed. They were very fortunate last night that they weren't playing a quarterback that was accurate. Because if you play a quarterback that was more accurate last night, they get diced up again and they lose that football game. If you play a team last night that had a field goal kicker that could make a field goal,
yeah,
Tampa may win that game still. So I understand the narrative that's going to come out. Don't buy into the false chatter about New England's defense being fixed. They were very, very fortunate. They still didn't play like a New England football team. At the end of the first half, the back-to-back roughing the passer penalties that leads to an opportunity for a long field goal, that's not a Belichick-type team. And so I think we better be careful today as we watch the narrative unfold in front of us. Good win by New England, bad loss by Tampa, but more importantly, I wanted to see last night, was Tampa ready for prime time? You talked about Jameis Winston before the season being an MVP candidate. We talked about the Bucs being a young and up-and-coming team. Last night was an opportunity. It's a poor dog that won't fight in his own backyard, Greeny. It's a poor dog that won't fight. They fought, but they didn't fight smart last night. And so I think Tampa is still a little bit away. They were not healthy. They didn't have the 2-star linebackers. They didn't have the safety T.J. Ward. But all in all, I thought it was a good win and a bad loss for Tampa.
Patriots didn't have Gronk. You're right in that the numbers that Jameis put up, if you just look at his final numbers, are going to look pretty good. He threw for 334 yards, but over 200 of that came in the fourth quarter alone. Through most of the night, they just couldn't get anything. In a way, it was sort of a stop-and-start kind of a thing for Tampa. You're right. They didn't look comfortable. And part of that, as I was watching it, and of course, last night is a night that you're going back and forth between so many different things. But much of it, as I was watching it, I found myself thinking these Thursday games are just kind of tough. You don't have time to get it in. The defenses maybe sometimes have a little bit of an edge because they just go out there and kind of do what they do. As you said last night, they simplified the defense. What they didn't seem to have was a lot of those moments, and you tell me, they didn't seem to have a lot of those moments where the New England secondary were looking at each other at the end of the play going, wait a minute, I thought you were supposed to be over there, which they had a lot in the first 4 games of the season.
Well, that's a byproduct of Bill, because Bill said, you know what, we don't have time to work on this communication. So they played a lot of zone last night, a lot of zone coverage. And in zone, Green, is really simple. You drop 2 yards outside the hash, and that's your zone. So you don't have to worry about a man. That simplifies the defense. Man coverage, because what a lot of teams were doing against New England is lining up in bunch formations, lining up in tight quarters. And now, once you spread out, it's a lot of communication that has to go on. Once you're in tight quarters or a bunch formation, now I got to pass it off. I got to communicate. In zone coverage, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm still going to my landmark, which is if it's 2 yards outside the hash, it's 2 yards outside the hash no matter what you do. So that's the simplification that Bill Belichick made. Now, with that being said, over these next 10 days, they got to get it fixed. Okay, you have to figure out a way to make sure Gillislee is more comfortable, to make sure that veteran secondary, Butler, McCourty, can get everybody on the same page.
There's a little extra time to do it now, as you mentioned, with the little mini bye that you get. When you win these Thursday games, it's such a good thing for a team because you get a little extra time. And so 19-14 Bucks get the win. Pats get the win last night in Tampa.
You play to win the game.
All right, the one and only Herm Edwards. When we find ourselves in times of trouble, Herm Edwards comes to us speaking words of wisdom. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Good morning,
Coach.
Good morning, my friend.
Help us. We got a million things to get to. And before we get to the football and Booger's take on the New England defense last night and more, I just would love to talk about making decisions. You were a head coach for a long time, and the primary responsibility of a head coach is making a tough call without knowing in advance what the result is going to be and then living with the result. And so we saw Terry Francona make a decision. Baseball and football a little different, but it is what it is. Make a decision that if it had gone the wrong way, if Trevor Bauer gets belted around last night and he lasts 1 1/3, as so many of these starters have, and the Yankees get a Game 1 win, Terry Francona was going to wake up to a lot of criticism. And we heard him say, you know what, I wasn't going to check the reaction. It was the right thing to do, whether it worked or not. Can you just talk us through the process of making those decisions and having the courage of those convictions?
Well, you stand alone when you make decisions. And you know if it works out, obviously, you get praise. And if not, you're going to take the blame. With that being said, the first thing you have to do is when you make a decision, especially when it comes to personnel, know your personnel. And know what you're asking them to do. I think that's more important. And then you have to have an alternate plan. So if it goes awry, what do I do? You got to be a step ahead of the decision. You're hoping this. Now, that's the logical way to do it. And whenever you're caught in between, I don't know what to do, you go with your gut. You just go with your gut. You say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And you go and you just say, I'm doing this because I feel this way. And players get that. I mean, when coaches make decisions, especially if you've had good rapport with your team, you don't have to explain it a lot of times. They just get it. They say, okay, coach is going to do this. And then sometimes you got to explain it. This is why I did this. When you make an error, you have to fess up to the players. That's the first thing you got to do if you're going to earn their trust. When you make a bad decision and the game's over, the first conversation is on me, guys. This is what I did. Whether it was managing the game, making a decision, it's always easy to put it on the players because they play. And I've been on both sides of it. I've been a player, I've been a coach. I've always said, when I mess it up, boys, I'm going to be the first one to say, hey, guys, I messed this one up. It's on me, right? And then the players go, we got you, coach. Because I've always told players, when the call comes in, you might not like the call, okay? Just play it down. Help me. I screwed it up. Help me out. Because I can't make the perfect call all the time. So you got to help me out. And the players get that. Just play the call, because you're the one that has to play it. You might not like it. Like the big fellas up front, they want, hey, we won't go, coach. We want to get after this guy. Come on, we want to go. I used to hear these guys always, Monty, turn him loose. Turn me loose. They want to go hit the quarterback, So we get that part, but that's what coaching's about. You got to make some tough decisions.
Yeah. Now, as far as it pertains to last night in the New England Patriots and Buccaneers, Greeny asked me, what did I see? And he made the statement that the Patriots defense looked a little better. That's not what I saw last night. I saw a defense that simplified things. I saw a quarterback that was off. And any other quarterback that was on last night probably shreds that Patriot defense the way they've been shredded all season. What did you see last night?
Yeah, your eyes are not lying. You're exactly right. And he didn't have enough time to get complicated. I mean, this is the week where you got 11 days, you can fix some things. Yep. But I thought what they did is, and I heard you earlier, they played a lot of soft zone. When they played man, it was never combination man. It was just you cover your guy. If they line up in bunch and we're going to play some man, you cover your guy and we'll deal with it. I thought what they did offensively, they put the ball in Brady's hands. This is who they are now. They missed Gronk last night in the red zone. They got down there, only hit one touchdown. That's why this game was close. Tampa Bay, as you say, Jameis missed some shots early. He had a couple plays there, and I think Jameis was so excited about playing against Tom Brady that has something to do with it too. He wanted to meet Tom Brady before. Tom Brady ain't coming out before the warm-ups. I mean, he's in the locker room. He's coming out after the game. He might say hello to you, but Jameis was like, "I want to meet Tom Brady." He was all excited. You could almost tell he was all excited. Big game. When you play in Tampa, we got the ship and we got the cannons going off, man, and the pirates walking around. And he was all excited, And all of a sudden, the game got started, and he missed a couple early. I thought when you looked at New England, they're about this now. They're throwing the ball, guys, averaging 40 throws a game. Now, Brady's been sacked already 16 times. He only sacked 15 times last year. I mean, he's on pace right now, to throw it 650 times. This is just a throwing team. They're going to just throw it. They're going to just throw it. Because they feel in their heart of hearts, we got to score points. Because I don't know how that defense is going to react. They got in the red zone, and when you look at it, when they didn't have Gronk, they didn't have a big guy to go to. He's the guy that gets the double team down there. If you single him, it's the easy throw for Brady. He was not available. They stalled out twice down there. Obviously, the field goal kicker for Tampa was, the eyesore of this whole deal. But it was a tight-fought game, and the last 3 games that they actually played in, they've won 2 and lost 1. They've all been one-score games. I mean, this is not a New England team you look at and go, okay, they won, but it's not okay, the game's close. That's how they're going to play.
Well, so we came into this season thinking New England is like Golden State, that they're by far the best team in the sport, and you just pointed it out. 2 weeks ago, he's got to bring them from behind with a last-minute drive to beat a rookie quarterback in Houston. The following week, they get the win at the very end. Otherwise, they were staring at being 1-3, and then last night they go out there, and again, they look like a one-dimensional team, but they find a way to win against a quarterback who wasn't on. So one of 2 things happens. Either they can ride Brady and Belichick can put the rest of it together enough to still wind up 13-3, 12-4 this year, and they're a legit Super Bowl contender, or not. Which one's going to happen?
They don't worry about the regular season that much. Like if you ever listen to Bill talk, Bill doesn't worry about what the record is going to be. He wants his team playing a certain way once they get to November and December. So I honestly think, is he concerned about the defense? Sure. But his whole focus is not now. Can I get it fixed where when crunch time comes in November and December, we're playing our best football?
Can he?
Realize, Greeny, when you have veteran players that are miscommunicating, to me, something's amiss. These guys played a lot of football back there. Coach, when you talk about Butler, McCourty, Gilmore, these guys have played a lot of football.
Yes.
I don't understand why veteran players can't communicate combination coverage.
Well, a lot of it, Gilmore's a guy now. He comes out of a system where he plays cat coverage. It means you cover your cat.
Right.
It's not very difficult. Now he goes to a system where you got to read things, and there's a lot of different calls. So, look, they took him out last week because some things got miscommunicated, and you could see it on tape. These guys are trying to communicate. I got him, he got him. Oh, we receive. Because he just scored again. Okay. Oh, I mean, you saw a lot of that. It was like, I'm watching. I've been back there. I played back there. You got him. No, I got him. He got him. Oh, we receive again. Okay, touchdown. And the guy comes out and the band is playing. Okay, where are we going? So you as a coach, you're going, well, this is confusing now. Somebody's confused. Right. Well, all it takes is one guy. When you play in the secondary, you got to have good eyes. They got dirty eyes right now. They're not all seeing the same thing. They got dirty eyes. You got to have clean eyes in the back end because you got to see the same thing, especially if you're combination coveraging. I mean, if the guy going in, is he going out? What is he doing? And so that's the problem. They got to try to fix that.
Can they? What you're seeing, is it fixable in a month?
Well, look, communication is fixable. Talent is not.
They have talent, don't they?
All
those guys
talent.
are good players.
That was their strength. They played better last night, but here again, they helped them in the fact that they were soft. Jameis missed some throws. I mean, he missed a couple. Jackson, I mean, he had him one going down the boundary now. If he catches it, he catches that one.
Like the band up.
Yes, sir. They shooting the cannon, the boom, boom, and the Pirates coming out, right? I mean, come on. So you see it unfolding, you go, oh. But, Tampa wasn't ready. They weren't. We've been there. You've been there with us. I mean, young team, primetime game, all excited, emotionally, all ready to go. And then they got playing, and it was, wait a minute. And the time they figured out was the fourth quarter. And then it was almost too late. And then the field goal kicker.
Right. Speaking of Tampa, what do you do in that situation? You're the coach, and you got to look your team. You talked about owning up to your team. Yeah. You got to look your team in the eye. What do you say about the field goal kicker? Because that's the elephant in the room when you walk in the locker room.
Well, you're not going to call them out. But what you're doing is after the game, you've already with the GM say, look, we got to bring somebody in here. We got to get another kicker because we can't. I can't allow this to continue to happen. As a coach, you can't. Now you can't call a kicker out. You can't do that. You're not going to do that. But the players know. Like today, 9 o'clock. They got some kickers. They're already kicking.
It's really remarkable when you think this is a team that used a second-round pick on a kicker. It feels like 20 minutes ago, and they're on their second kicker since then, and they still can't get it right. It is remarkable the trouble they're having with the kicking game in Tampa. Okay, Herman is here. Booger McFarland is in all morning long. Coming up next, there was a famous song once called "Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word," but yesterday it was delivered, and I thought extraordinarily well. You'll hear it. You make up your own mind what you think. That's next. We're Mike and Mike. Mike and Mike, Herman Edwards in with us. Booger McFarland's in for the big fella today. We got tons in the hopper. Again, 4 baseball games on today's schedule. Good kickoff to Week 5 last night as the Patriots get a hard-fought win in Tampa. Pats defense, by the way, allowing 6.9 yards per play this season. That would be on pace to be the worst mark by any team in the last 15 years. You guys are both defensive players, and Herman, you were a defensive coach. I mean, you're giving up 7 yards a play. That's very difficult to overcome.
Well, very difficult, and the problem with that is with that being said, you're going to give up a lot of first downs. And what does that mean? Other team possesses the ball, offense can't get on the field. And there lies the problem because your strength is your offense. And when you give up that many yards, and Booger knows this, the hardest call in football defensively is 2nd or 5. It's just a bad – you don't want to be in 2nd and 5 on defense. You just don't because the offense is ahead of the chains on you. So when you're giving up that many yards, the offense is kind of dictating the whole strategy of what they want to do the next 2 downs, and that's never good defensively.
From a personnel standpoint, Greeny, they have talent on the back end. I'm starting to wonder how talented this front 7 is for New England. For a long time, they've been, okay, we can plug and play and put guys in there and we'll be okay because Bill is a defensive genius. But when you start to give up that many yards per play, that means you're not making the impact plays. You're not making the tackles for losses. You're not making the plays that change the game, and you're counting on scheme to win. Scheme doesn't win in the NFL. The NFL has always been a talent league. Football is a talent game. Usually the most talented team and the most talented players are going to be successful. So that's my concern about the Patriots is that, yeah, Bill can scheme it up how he wants to. But when your best players are those back 4 guys and not the front 7 guys, it could be trouble for you.
Meanwhile, let's do Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Yesterday, we and almost everyone else spent some time talking about Cam Newton and his response to a question from a female reporter in a news conference the other day and all the attention that received. I'm sure by now pretty much anyone listening knows what I'm talking about. You may not know that late yesterday, Cam Newton filmed, if you will, taped an apology that he put on social media. I thought it was extraordinarily well done. You can decide for yourself. Here's Cam.
What I did was extremely unacceptable. I'm a father to 2 beautiful daughters, and at their age, I try to instill in them that they can do and be anything that they want to be. And the fact that during this whole process, I've already lost sponsors and countless fans, I realized that the joke is really on me. And I've learned a valuable lesson from this. And to the young people who see this, I hope that you learn something from this as well. Don't be like me, be better than me. And to the reporters, to the journalists, to the moms, super moms, to the daughters, the sisters, and the women all around the world, I sincerely apologize and hope that you can find the kindness in your heart to forgive me.
So that was Cam Newton yesterday. Booger, I'll let you go first.
What he said, he shouldn't have said. With that being said, I thought it was a very heartfelt apology. And a lot of people are criticizing him for the length of time after what he said until the apology. Here's what I go by. I always live by this, and I learned this at a very young age in life. There's never a wrong time to do the right thing, Greeny. Never. Never a wrong time to do the right thing. What he said was the right thing. You can parse his words and say how he said it, read body language. All I know, I'm going to take the man for his word. And I think in the grand scheme of things, I hope Cam learns from this. I've been one of Cam's biggest critics. I don't think Cam has played to the level that he needs to play to be a franchise quarterback. With that being said, I accepted his apology last night. As a football player in this game, I thought he said what he needed to say. And hopefully anyone he offended, the women, the moms, anyone out there, hopefully they'll accept it also.
Herman.
He owned up to it, and he should have owned up to it. I think now his actions have to obviously live up to the words that he spoke, and that's probably the most important thing going forward. And he's going to be in front of that mic a lot of more times. And I've always said this, your words are powerful, and in today's world, even more powerful because there's so many outlets, and you have to be very careful when you obviously stand before the masses, and you have to pick your words and you have to choose your words, because everything now is about when you speak, people are trying to look into what did he really mean? What is he trying to say? And it's a shame because that's the world we're in. Yeah. Okay. And that's just, we sit here and there's some things that I think about saying, you can't say that because somebody will take it the wrong way. We are a sensitive nation. We have become very sensitive, okay? And some things that you used to could say 15 years ago, I cannot say anymore. I can say to you guys, but we're not the microphone on, and you take it the right way. All right. So the perception is when people speak, celebrities or people in office, wherever we may be, they look at their words and everybody kind of has their own definition of what he said or what she said, right? And that's how debates start. Our society has become, everything's a debate. Did he really mean it? How did he say it? Why don't we just trust people? We don't trust people anymore. We really don't. We just don't. And once you err, then all of a sudden you've lost people's trust. People want you to be perfect. I always say, you don't want to be perfect? Look yourself in the mirror before we start judging other people. We always want to judge somebody, and that's easy to do. Just make sure you judge yourself. Make sure you're the best person you can be before you start judging other people. That's pretty important to me.
Yeah. Mike and Mike, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. For me, I thought the apology was extremely well done. I thought he said all of the right things in the right ways. And to whatever degree it's up to me to decide that. And finally, I would say on this subject, as I said yesterday, his crime, and I'm putting that word in air quotes here because obviously it wasn't a crime, was the deserving punishment was some scorn. Like he said a nasty thing, and he deserved to be criticized for it, and to wear that for a day or two and then to move on. And I think that was the right thing. He apologized, and that's the thing. He lost a sponsor in this from the yogurt, and that was their decision, and everyone else can choose to react to that however they choose to do so. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll come back. We got a million things going on a very busy Friday. Stay with us, Mike and Mike.